Hi everyone, Ron Crider here again from the shores of Vero Beach, Florida at the Victoria Condominium, and today we're making spaghetti and meatballs. It's February the 8th, 2020. It's a Saturday. Spent most of the day putting this together, and it was really tasty. We made it for our friends Chad and Edward. Edward is my taster-in-chief, so when I make sauces, he comes up and tastes the sauces and tells me exactly what I need to do to make it taste a little bit better. And one of the secret ingredients is sugar, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Here are the ingredients that we used for the sauce. Take a look at this. We have 28-ounce whole tomatoes, 28 ounces of crushed tomatoes, some tomato paste, some Italian seasoning, crushed peppers, olive oil. Let's see what else we have. Of course, we had the Chianti Classico over there, the oregano, Italian seasoning. Of course, I said the tomato paste, but look over here. Look what I got here. I have the fresh basil. That's a fresh basil plant. Boy, did I give that guy a haircut. And of course, there's onions and garlic in here as well. So first, let's kick this off with putting together the initial phase here, which is the garlic. Now, I always hate to show you me chopping because I don't do a very good chopping job, but the fact is you got to see what's going on here. So I chop up the garlic, and as you can see, I use a lot of garlic. And I also put the garlic in after I put the onions into the olive oil. So I let the onions saute for about 4 or 5 minutes, and then I put the garlic in on top of the onions because this is an upside down shot of me doing the onions, but I do kind of a rough cut of the onions as well. I don't chop the onions up quite as much as most people do, and nor do I chop up the garlic terribly. All right, so we're gonna put a little bit of olive oil in here, just enough to begin to cook the onions. And then I put in the onions. Always use good olive oil. The olive oil is the beginning of the base of this sauce you're making, and clearly you want it to taste good, and the olive oil does make it do that. By the way, I also put a little piece of onion down in there to make sure that it's ready to start sauteing, and I wait until it starts to make a little bit of noise. Move this around a little bit so that everything, I'd like to have a bigger pan so that things aren't on top of each other, so I should have had a bigger saucepan. That was more of a pasta pan. All right, now, as you can see, come on, give it a little shake, Crider, show me. All right, that's the way you're supposed to do it. Shake it a little bit so that everything combines nicely. It's beginning to smell really good with that olive oil, and there goes the garlic. Now, I put the garlic in here, and I'm gonna leave this garlic in here for about a minute, but not much more. Anytime you put garlic in anywhere, make sure that it doesn't have a possibility of burning. If you start burning your garlic, it's all over. You're going to have to start everything again, and that means you maybe have to go out and buy more ingredients. And I have done that more than one time, I might add. So I have plenty of experience of knowing how to not do it. Okay, so let's move on here. Next, we need to get the tomatoes in here, and we have a 28-ounce can of peeled tomatoes. Now you should really take those tomatoes first and smush them up with your hands before you put them in here because you don't want the whole tomato in there. I tried to do it the wrong way by using the spatula and cutting it up. Here are the crushed tomatoes, another 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. Then I'll bring the spatula in here and start trying to break the tomatoes up. And again, I say it's a much better way to do it if you do it in your hands. It's a little sloppy, a little messy, but and as it begins to warm up, all of a sudden you start smelling those very fragrant aromas of the tomatoes and the garlic and the onions all cooking together. I mean, people all over the building could smell it going together. They said, there's that Italian guy again making this crazy Italian food. Sure smells good, though. So, yeah, Crider's a German name, but I'm really Italian. And there's the basil. I use an awful lot of basil. There's that fresh basil from the basil plant you saw in the very beginning. This is really tomato basil sauce because of the amount of basil that I use. Very much enjoy basil. Everybody seems to like the basil-flavored tomato sauce. So it's kind of a misnomer in the heading here to say tomato sauce. It should say basil tomato sauce. But you want to combine all of that together nicely. And every time you add another ingredient, it starts smelling just a little bit different. And now it's beginning to take on the fragrance of the basil. Okay, here we go. There's the red pepper flakes. So I put quite a few of those in there. I like to add a little spice to it, make it a little bit hot. Come on, Crider, we don't have all day. Let's go. Okay, this is the Italian seasoning. Put a little bit of that in there. You'll see that there's going to be quite a bit of seasoning laying in on top of these tomatoes before we're finished here. Because then we have to add the oregano and the pepper. And by the way, the song is 5/4. It is a neat little song that I use in a lot of my videos. There's the oregano. As I said, you're going to notice a lot of these spices laying on top of the tomatoes here. There's the black pepper. And then we'll combine them all together. And it will begin to start emitting that fabulous tomato basil sauce flavor. Looking good, smelling good. One more ingredient that needs to go in here before we start making the meatballs, and that is the Chianti Classico Reserva. Now, I put 1.5 cups in here because I made quite a bit, and then I actually add another, the Ruffino Chianti Classico Reserva. Always use good wine when you cook. If you want wine flavor, then you want good wine flavor, and the only way you're going to get it is if you use good wine. Do not use cooking wine. Bad idea. Okay, so that pretty much does it for the sauce. The sauce is going to sit there and simmer and low. Now we're going to chop up some of the ingredients that go into the meatballs, and these would be the onions. And there's sausage. I took the casing off of the sausage, and those are all the ingredients in the big bowl there with the onions and the garlic, and there's Parmesan cheese will come here in a second. The only way to do this is just get your hands dirty and take it out of there and put it into another bowl, a bigger bowl because it was too small, and begin to combine it together. Now you don't want to pack your meatballs. You don't want them tightly packed together. But they do have to be formed and they have to stick together, and you'll see that the binding agent is sticking them together. There's the Parmesan cheese, the shaved Parmesan that goes in on top of that. And once again, we mix all of that together. And after having done so, we will add another binding agent that has panko in it for the breadcrumbs. It will stick 1 egg in here and mix that in with it. That becomes more of a binding agent. Okay, there they all are. There are all the formed little meatballs. And then these meatballs are going to go into a pan, and we're going to saute them. Now, the deal with that is just a little bit, just lightly saute them enough to kind of seal them. And you'll see what goes on here. And once they're sealed, then we're going to take them out of this pan and put them in another pan and put them in the oven for about 35 minutes at 375 degrees so that they cook the rest of the way. Obviously, there's pork in here. We want to make sure that it's cooked all the way through. And of course, there's that sausage and the lean beef as well. All right, so they're getting done now. Now, you have to do this in several batches if you did as many as I did. So there's that one group I put in. I did about 3 or 4 batches. So there they are. They're going into the oven right now. They're going to cook for about 35 minutes at 375 degrees. Looking good, smelling great. Whole house smells terrific. There we go. There they are. They're all done, and now they're combined with the meat sauce. And I can't tell you how good they smell and how good they taste. So let's do this. There we go. Let's put it on the table. And there's the pasta there on the right, and the meatballs and tomato sauce on the left. Here's the video, and everybody's razzing me about doing the video because they're sitting there. Edward is on the left-hand side. He is the taster-in-chief. He has the best palate around here. He's always the guy that can help me make my sauces taste really exceptionally good. and they're razzing me about the fact that I have to show this video. And I think it looks, I like to see it plated. I like to see the finished product laying there on the table and everybody gets a look at it before you eat it. They wanted to eat. Let's eat, come on. Yeah, give me a hard time. The dogs are sitting there, they want a little bit of that too. But it tasted fabulous, and of course there was plenty left over. There was enough to feed a small army. A couple of still shots of the pasta and the tomato basil sauce with the Chianti Classico sitting there. And that's our spaghetti and meatballs. I should say spaghetti, meatballs, and basil sauce. Tomato basil sauce. It's February the 8th, 2020. 72 degrees in Vero Beach, right along the beach, right here at the Victoria Condominium. Thank you very much for watching. If you like it, give me a like. Subscribe to my channel. Every time I put a new one up, you'll see it. I hope you enjoy it, and have a really great day. Thank you again for watching.